Good morning, I'm Mai Rodriguez, sitting in for Mikey Oreta, and you're watching Basis Points, where we dive deep into the numbers and stories that drive our economy and shape our world. The headlines. Prices of residential real estate decreased in the third quarter of 2024. The Tourism Department records robust growth in its sector in 2024. And South Korean investigators try to implement an arrest warrant for impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol. Let's take a quick look at the financial markets. Wall Street seesawed to a lower close on Thursday as investors embarked on the new year facing the cross-currents of solid labor market data, a rising dollar, and tumbling Tesla shares. The S&P 500 lost 0.22%, while the Nasdaq Composite lost 0.16%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also fell to 0.36%.
So we closed 2024 on a bit of a rough patch, and I think that in lieu of a catalyst or big news, the prevailing trend kind of takes over, right? And while the market started off on a nice foot this year, the prevailing trend lately has been the market working out some bullish sentiment, some overbought conditions. And we continue to see that today. And you see the dollar pressing higher, you see the 10-year pressing higher. Those have been two things that have really weighed on stocks. And that sets us up for what I think is going to be a much more volatile 2025 than we saw in 2024, 2023 even. I think that this is kind of par for the course.
Over in Europe, markets closed on a positive note. The FTSE went up 1.07%. Germany's DAX index also up at 0.58%, while France's CAC 40 went up 0.18%. For the first time since 2021, prices of residential real estate in the country went down in the third quarter of 2024. That's according to the price index of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Sujin Kim reports.
Residential real estate prices in the National Capital Region plunged by 14.6% in the third quarter of 2024, the sharpest decline in 3 years. This drop also contributed to a 2.3% year-on-year contraction nationwide, the first since 2021. According to Joey Bondoc, Director of Research at Colliers International Philippines, the decline is part of an industry-wide correction in NCR due to a surplus of condominium units.
Talking about 50 to 60% decline in take-up of pre-selling condominium units in Metro Manila. You have how many? 75,000 unsold condominium units in the pre-selling as well as secondary market. And given that Metro Manila at this point is flooded with a sizable number of unsold condominium units, it will take about 6 years. Nearly 6 years for that inventory to be absorbed by the Metro Manila market.
The concern of pagbaba ng price is basically, for me, it's a temporary scenario. Everything is a cycle, basically starts from recovery towards expansion, where people buy a lot of units, and then comes hypersupply, which we are experiencing right now.
Data from the central bank also shows that residential real estate loans nationwide dropped by nearly 16% year-on-year, attributed to negative consumer sentiment and high interest rates.
A sizable impact because especially in the mid-income segment, that is the most sensitive to interest rate and mortgage rate spikes. High interest rates resulting in high mortgage rates, and then essentially, you don't have a lot of employees right now that are renting the condo units because the POGOs have left the Philippines.
Bondoc adds the exit of POGOs and the rise of remote work have also reduced rental demand, causing a double whammy for condominium sales.
Vacancy in the office market in Metro Manila, 20.5%. Essentially, 1 out of 5 floors is vacant in Metro Manila. So because of this lower demand for office space, that has also resulted in a sluggish take-up for condominium units.
While the NCR market is experiencing a slowdown, demand in suburban areas such as Calabarzon and Central Luzon continues to grow. Horizontal developments, particularly house and lot projects, are gaining popularity for their affordability and spacious options.
So you have developers such as Rockwell, for example, in Bulacan, Batangas, Ayala in Angeles City, Mega World in Bulacan, Robinson's Land in Tarlac. So they have been launching all these horizontal projects, and they're really banking on the sustained demand outside of Metro Manila, again supported by the shift to suburbia. And so I think it's a diversification game at this point.
Prices outside NCR saw a 3% uptick supported by single detached houses and condominiums. Despite the challenges, property investor Eric Manalo remains optimistic, pointing to the country's robust tourism arrivals, infrastructure development, and the contributions of BPO and OFWs to the real estate sector.
The main declines in Metro Manila, based on that report, will basically give an opportunity for buyers today to avail of a property at a good price and flexible terms.
Manalo recommends following the buy, rent, sell model to secure reliable sources of income for future benefit.
The more you wait in buying property, the more you lose, because before Makati was like 280 pesos per square in the 1970s, and now it's hundreds of millions.
Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The Department of Tourism records robust growth in its sector last year, citing reforms and flagship programs under the Marcos administration. Tourism Secretary Cristina Frasco said that Philippine tourism gained much more last year compared to 2023 in terms of spending by foreign tourists. She added that foreign visitors are also staying longer. From an average of 9 nights in 2019, this went up to more than 11 nights. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council report, the Philippines has the largest domestic tourism market in Southeast Asia, with a valuation of $52.1 billion or nearly 3 trillion pesos in 2023. The Philippine manufacturing sector grew last year. The latest survey by S&P Global showed that the Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, expanded to 54.3 last month, surpassing the 53.8 recorded in November. This matches the April 2022 print and the strongest since November 2017. A PMI reading below 50 marks a contraction in the sector, but a reading above the threshold is considered an expansion. The Department of Social Welfare and Development, together with the Labor Department and NEDA, will make new guidelines for the release of the 26 billion peso funds of the Ayuda para sa Kapos ang Kita, or AKAP program. This is in light of President Ferdinand Marcos's order to enhance the rules on the release of funds. DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian will meet today with DOLE and NEDA to craft the new rules. DSWD spokesperson Irene Dumlao says they are working on the release of the funds. She adds that the agency is looking forward to enhancing the current guidelines with DOLE and NEDA as stated by the 2025 General Appropriations Act's provisions. We're taking a quick break. Stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and narratives that matter most to your bottom line.
The desire to look good, to celebrate our bodies, to proclaim our status through what we wear is not exactly just modern vanity. In fact, I'd like to think it links us to our ancestors, to our indigenous people, to all humanity. But right now, no one can argue that Wang Od is the most effective proponent of Dayaw, our knowledge, our pride.
Good morning, I'm Mai Rodriguez.
Ferdy Salvador.
Welcome to Industry Beacon,
Where we shine a light on the trailblazers,
the disruptors, and the industry leaders shaping our future.
And in each episode, we explore how they're staying ahead in their fields,
One industry at a time.
It's a good opportunity to come from Australia here to the Philippines.
AC Health has launched groundbreaking initiatives to improve access to care.
I'm so thrilled we opened the country's first cancer-only hospital.
Industry Beacon on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel. This is The Scorecard, where you score the latest sports news and in-depth views. I'm Anton Rojas. Philippine football team reaches their first ASEAN Cup semi since 2018.
Vienna's vision emphasizes self-sufficiency and empowerment through education.
Bianca Bustamante, the Filipina driving phenom, transitioning from the F4 car to a GV3 beast.
Filipino billiards masters redefining legacy.
The Scorecard, where sports is our business and business is our sport, on the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
You're back on Basis Points. Trading at the Philippine Stock Exchange began earlier. Let's look at the initial figures in the second trading day of the year. The main index is currently trading at 65.54 from yesterday's close of 65.50. Most indices are heading north. The all shares up by 0.12%, financials by 0.16%, and holding firms up by 0.11%, services 0.36%, property sub-index up by 0.13%. Heading south are industrials at 0.18%, services, or rather mining and oil, down by 0.07%. Advancers outpace decliners 54-31. Value turnover is currently at 381 million. Meanwhile, at the foreign exchange market, the peso opened weaker at 58.05 against the dollar from its previous close of 57.91. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or BSP, is expected to wrap up its fourth Supervisory College Risk Review of the Philippine financial conglomerates next month. The review examines the vulnerabilities of conglomerates in the country's financial markets. BSP Governor Eli Remolona chairs the exercise through the Financial Sector Forum, or FSF. While the reviews are not disclosed publicly, they underpin supervisory plans that target high-risk entities with significant economic impact. These plans are vital to ensuring stability in the financial system, where conglomerates wield outsized influence. The Metropolitan Bank and Trust Corporation achieves another milestone. The Asian banker has named the T-led bank as the strongest bank in the Philippines for a fourth straight year. The Asian Banker Global 2024 Finance Awards is based on a bank's balance sheet performance, risk profile, and profitability, among others. Metrobank Financial Markets Sector Head Antonio Ferdinand Tancinco says, apart from a strong balance sheet, they take pride in their malasakit brand in customer service. The Department of Finance urges Congress to pass the new charters of the Land Bank of the Philippines and the Development Bank of the Philippines. Finance Secretary Ralph Recto says that Land Bank and DBP may rely less on government support if their charters were amended. Recto says these will strengthen the state-run banks and allow them to more efficiently access private capital. House Bill number 11230, seeking to amend DBP's charter, was approved in the House Banks Panel last November 2019. But proposals to revise the Land Bank's charter is stuck in the committee. Vice President Sara Duterte possibly faces a fourth impeachment complaint, this despite the three others still pending and under study. Around 10 to 12 congressmen are said to endorse the filed impeachment complaints. The Makabayan bloc says they plan to consolidate support to push VP Sara's impeachment. ACT Teachers Party List Representative Franz Castro said on Thursday they will mobilize this month to pressure the Marcos administration to change its mind about the impeachment. We're taking another breather. Basis Points.
Magandang gabi, ako po si Pinky Webb.
At ako naman si Corina Sanchez Rojas.
Ngayong 2025, kombinasyong Corina Sanchez Rojas at Pinky Webb. Dalawang bababahayag na subok sa tapang at talino.
Simulcast tayo sa DWAR Abante Radyo at 94.7 Mellow BFM.
Mapapanood din tayo sa Abante Teletabloid sa Sky Cable. Sa bawat issue may anggulo at ang balita may agenda.
the latest weather updates and forecast.
Could be another tropical cyclone heading towards us at the end of the year.
With information to help us understand important aspects about our climate.
Can you tell us a bit about the jobs that will actually be produced by this project, not just in the construction, but of course in the actual running of this farm?
Weather HQ.
Whatever the weather, only here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The questions.
Why sounds very serious, but
Seryoso,
watch
no?
it.
Di ba parang, crime, may away pamilya, etc.
The issues.
Who are supposed to be on the faces of our bank, of our money?
Bangko Sentral, no? There is a numismatic committee who meets and decides.
We clarify matters.
The 1,000 peso bill was changed from the three heroes of World War II to the Philippine Eagle.
Pinky Web is always on point.
The latest news, national issues,
with regard to was very vocal about charter change.
the political scene, the trust and approval ratings of President Bongbong Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte decline, and conversations with prominent personalities.
Brings back wonderful memories of past Christmases when I was a little boy in Iloilo.
Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. All these firsthand at the forefront.
You're back on Basis Points. Personnel from South Korea's Corruption Investigation Office tried to enforce an arrest warrant for impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol at his residence in Seoul. He is wanted for questioning in multiple investigations, including accusations of leading an insurrection due to his martial law declaration in December. This is punishable by life imprisonment or even the death penalty. A court on Tuesday approved the warrant for Yoon, the first time such a move has been taken toward a sitting president. The suspended president has remained defiant in the face of investigations and an impeachment trial underway by one of the country's highest courts. Consumer sentiment in South Korea has been affected as the country reels from the shock of its deadliest ever air disaster as well as the ongoing political turmoil. Many residents have opted to celebrate the new year in a quieter fashion due to the difficult circumstances. The tragic Jeju Air plane crash, which claimed 179 lives, has led to a period of national grief. Shopping malls in South Korea's major business districts are notably more deserted compared with previous holiday celebrations. In the week following the martial law declaration, the credit card spending of South Korea's 8 major credit card companies plummeted by around 26% compared with the previous week. Data from the Bank of Korea indicated that South Korea's consumer confidence suffered the biggest plunge since 2008. U.S. President Joe Biden said he will try to travel to New Orleans following Wednesday's deadly vehicle attack on Bourbon Street. Speaking to reporters, Biden said the attacker acted alone. On Thursday, Biden met with members of his national security team in the Situation Room. The White House said he directed his team to continue to make every resource available to federal, state, and local law enforcement so they can complete their investigations as quickly as possible. The FBI has described the incident, which killed 15 people, as an act of terrorism. The attacker also planted explosives in ice coolers in the French Quarter just hours before the attack. Austria says it plans to import natural gas from Germany and Italy after Ukraine stopped Russia's pipeline from sending natural gas to Europe. Austria is one of the European countries directly affected by the end of the supply. The Austrian government has sought to give assurances that gas shortages will be avoided, but many believe that higher gas prices are inevitable. Energy experts warn of a short-term rise of $3 to $10 per megawatt hour for natural gas. Tech giant Apple settles a lawsuit accusing its digital assistant Siri of listening on users' private conversations. A preliminary settlement was filed on Tuesday night in the Oakland, California Federal Court. It requires approval by U.S. District Judge Jeffrey White. Although the firm refuses to acknowledge any wrongdoing in the $95 million settlement, it is required to pay more than $20 per Siri device to U.S. owners who had private conversations captured without permission. Apple also needs to confirm that it has deleted any overheard conversations and make user choices clear in voice data gathering to improve Siri. Luxury Swiss watch Rolex raises prices on some of its popular models this year. This came after gold values inched up last year. The brand starts the year by increasing prices by nearly 10% on some models made from precious metals. As of January 1, a yellow gold day date with a 40mm black dial costs more than $45,000 from a previous price of more than $42,000. And that's it for Basis Points. I'm Mai Rodriguez. We'll be back next week for more news on the financial markets and more. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.